Hi, right. So I'm joined with Carl Allen, who did the Harbour Club. Oh, what was it? 2, 3 weeks ago now, something like that. So your group is off to a running start, having done a few deals already amongst
Yeah,
the group. Although you're slightly different, you've done hundreds of deals in your career already, haven't you?
I have.
And actually, you run a training program on how to buy businesses, but very much focused on the kind of LBO model. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, yeah. So most of my career, first 17 years, was in investment banking, kind of corporate M&A. So retired at 37, got bored after about 3 weeks, and thought, don't want to have a boss. The only skill I have in the world is how to buy and sell companies. So I started buying small businesses, not necessarily distressed deals, more kind of okay deals, but using asset-based financing, cash flow financing, deferred payments to basically get those deals done. And then a couple of years ago, just got sick of people asking me to teach them how to do it. So I built an online training program which teaches them my methods, mostly US and UK, a little bit in Australia, a little bit in Canada. But what was amazing for me is I came to Harbour Club, and even though I've been a deal maker for over 20 years, learned some really cool things, and you never stop learning in this business. And I was blown away with particularly the agglomeration stuff, how to find distressed deals, how to negotiate distressed deals, how to fix them, how to get, debt that you don't want out of those businesses as well. So no, it was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Worth 10 times the investment for sure.
Fantastic. No, glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I've met most of your friends over the last couple of years because they've all done the course and they've all spoken about you.
They have, and it's funny actually. I wanted to come to Harbour Club last year. I network with. There's only 4 or 5 of us in the world that do this, and have really got the track record. And you were the apart from Dan, who I've not met. You were the one of the last people to kind of meet. But it's interesting. You never stop learning. And buying and selling businesses is all about people at the kind of SME market that we're dealing with. When you're buying a $5 billion software company, which I've done, it's more about financial engineering, albeit I was spending HP's money, not my own. It's all about financial engineering, and it's a lot less about psychology, which, when you're buying a small business, I think it's 90% psychology, and then it's 10% numbers. And, you can look at 2 identical businesses, same revenue, same profits. One's owned by a 30-year-old entrepreneur that's really having a lot of fun. The other one's owned by a 60-year-old owner-manager that's bored, tired, frustrated, sick to death of going into the business. He'll do that deal on a no cash down basis, whereas the entrepreneur, he might want 5 or 6 times profit to sell. So it's all about finding those people and, building that rapport, and then essentially, just playing to their mindset.
Yeah.
If you find those people, you can do these types of deals.
Yeah, well, the sourcing is key, isn't it? It's most of the private equity guys that you come across, sourcing is their weak point. They've all got lots of cash and no deals. I mean, also, I think in the Harbour Club, I always gloss over debt. I always gloss over that whole leverage side. And actually, having spoken to you a bit more on the course, I realised that actually I probably should at least have one eye open to that idea. You brought up the topic of the Small Business Association in the US. And what's really funny is I own a bank in the US that specializes in small business association loans, and I had never thought about using those for acquisition.
So what's amazing about the US is, for people like us, is there's an epidemic. There's over 2 million businesses for sale today in the States, and about 1 in 13 of them will sell in the next 12 months. I think the latest numbers from BizBuySell is about 2.4 million businesses listed for sale, and about 194,000 of them changed hands last year. So it's about 1 in 13.
I also read the average multiple is 1.5 times.
Yeah, one and a half times. It's just crazy. And the situation is getting worse, Jeremy, because according to the Wall Street Journal, 10,000 baby boomers every day are trying to retire in America. And Forbes has stated that 23% of them own small businesses. So you've just got this epidemic. So what the federal government's done, which is absolutely brilliant, is through the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they've turned around and said, well, anybody that wants to buy a business that's got reasonable credit will give you 75% of the acquisition finance. You just need to find the other 25. But then if you can convince the seller, which you can in virtually all cases, to carry the other 25% as a seller finance note, we call that vendor finance or deferred payments in England. In America, it's seller finance. You go to bizbuysell.com, you click on a listing, it will say, 90% seller financing available. Well, you only need 25. So SBA puts in 3/4. The seller's going to put in the other 25. What the SBA will then say is, come on, put 5 to 10% of your own money in. So you bridge that little bit of cash, and then as soon as the deal's closed, you can take it back out, or you can get the seller to lend you that money from the business as well. So it's a great way to buy a business in America without having to invest any of your own money.
I guess the only caveat is you need an American as part of the transaction, don't you?
Yeah, you do. So you do it through an LLC, which, as you know, allows
limited company in America. Yeah.
And as part of that. So as long as you're partnering with an American, you can do it actually. There is a kind of loophole. You can set up an S Corp, and Florida's the state that they let you do it. So you can set up an S Corp, set up an American incorporated business, and there's kind of a really clever way that you can do it where they don't know that you're a non-American, and then you can use that entity to get the financing.
Right. Okay. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, no, it's definitely it's definitely interesting, and under that structure, I know also that balance of 25% you can even insure the bit the government doesn't cover, so that there's no kind of personal guarantees or stuff associated with it, which is always one of my bugbears with lending in Europe or Australia.
Yeah, that's right. So I remember your quote, "A personal guarantee is a dickhead with a pen." Loved that. I thought it was so funny. But what's interesting, in the UK and in America, you can insure against personal guarantees. So let's say you were buying a business for $1 million and the SBA was kicking in $750,000. You don't have to PG it all, probably about $150,000, but then you can insure it with about a $10,000 deductible. So your total risk is $10,000, but all you need to do is the day you buy the business, take $10K out, stick it in escrow. Then no matter what happens, you're basically not carrying any risk.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's very smart.
Hardly anybody knows how to do it, which I guess is why we do what we do. Not to make money selling courses and training. It's nothing about that. It's about finding partners and finding deals, because like you, that's where we make all our money.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed the course, and
absolutely brilliant.
And look forward to hearing you at the conference in May. We'll talk about the vendor finance. Talk about the leverage part of the deal pie. And thanks very much again, and see you soon. Excellent.
Bye.
Okay.